Hey there everybody, my name is Cozy and welcome back to the channel. I promise this isn't going to be all of what the channel is now. I just feel especially bad today, like not mentally bad. Well, we can get to that in a second, but not mentally bad right now, but my side is killing me. So I'm like hunched over kind of like to my left to try to ease the pain. I don't know what's going on. I think I just ate some stuff too fast and all that stuff. And I prefer to, I can have more of the lights off if it's just vocals. So I hope y'all understand, and I hope y'all enjoy this game. I think this game is really cool. I think it has massive potential once it comes out of beta, and I just think it's really nice to look at. So how about that? But yeah, today is Friday, which means it is the end of the week. Hopefully everyone can sit back, relax, kick their feet up, and do something good for yourselves. I say that at the end of every video now, but it's one of those things. I say it because I think it's really important. Even if you're having a bad day, doing something good for yourself can be really beneficial. And like I always say, it's meditating, or it's reading a book, or it's taking a bubble bath, or it's, going on a walk if the weather allows it. Speaking of weather, though, Hurricane Ian coming up from the south through Florida. I think it just hit Florida today. Right now it's pretty nice outside here. It's just a little windy, but we'll see as the week progresses. But yeah, how are y'all doing? I hope you're doing well. I really do. Today for me was a little bit strange. Well, full disclosure, I'm recording this on Wednesday because I'm gonna have a very busy Thursday and Friday. So, but today it was kind of weird because I went into work and initially I was fine, but I got a lot of anxiety about how my performance review is going to go, and being concerned that my supervisor still has an issue with me because of all that stuff that happened a while ago, and if he's going to tank my tank my review. But that took up a lot of my day just worrying about that. But at the end of the day, I reminded myself it is just a progress review, so that's good. That way, you can say it's not like an annual review, right? It's not that big. It's just gonna say, if there's things I need to improve on, then there's things I need to improve on, and I can actually work to improve them. So that helped manage that a lot, and I think that's really important because there's a lot of things you can be stressed about, but the worst ones of them are the ones where you're just waiting, like I'm just waiting for him to call me in so we can have a talk about this performance appraisal, or it's what do you call it, a progress review. Just waiting on it. And I tried to email him today about hey, it's been about a month since I've been suspended. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Can you give me some pointers? And he kind of just emailed me back and was like, I'm busy with other appraisals right now. Which was kind of like the cold shoulder, but hey, I don't really blame him. But again, it's one of those things I tried to kind of feel out where things were, but wind up getting shut down. So, I know I was listening, and I always feel like I have to preface this because Joey Diaz says some really weird shit sometimes, but I just get a kick out of listening to the Joey Diaz podcast, Uncle Joey's Joint. And I was just listening to it today while I was, making some food and cleaning some stuff up, and talks about a lot of stuff. This was like a podcast from a week or two ago. But one of the things he said was, everyone fucks up. Everyone makes mistakes. But what he was saying was he just gets kind of annoyed with when people make up a whole bunch of excuses for it, instead of just saying, if it is just something, hey, you messed up, just making up excuses and, I was, whatever excuse you can make up. He said, it's much better when you just own it. So that's kind of what I'm doing, because no matter how much I wish that I had come to this epiphany earlier, or, before I got that disciplinary action of termination, but then working it down to a suspension. But no matter how much I want to take that back, I can't. And it's something that I've just got to live with now, and something I've got to roll with. And I guess, the positive way to look at it is pretty much, as far as what's under my control from there, that was like the bottom. And I just have, I don't want to say I can only go up or only improve from there, because there's ways, I could get bent, but as far as what I can do in my personal performance, like, that is where the biggest gap is right now, and that's where I can really contribute. And if my supervisor doesn't want to let that thing go and won't let me turn over a new leaf, that's kind of a separate problem. But for me personally, and my commitment to myself and my team, I just got to do what I got to do. And it's easier to say than to do, obviously, to just don't worry. Yeah, okay. It's easy to say when you got nothing to worry about, you know what I'm saying? And I realize that the best I can do now is just my best. And that's it. And that's not what I've been doing this past year and a half. Not at my job, because I was always so pissed off about something. Oh, something didn't go right. My supervisor didn't listen to me. These other teammates aren't supporting me with this, whatever I'm trying to talk about. And just focusing on the negatives, and I've talked about this before, coming home and just doing things that make time fly by. And I think that's really, I know I keep saying, I think this is really important, but I think there's something to that, because I think I've talked about this in a video before, but when you go to work and you don't like it, or you have a bad day, you just can find all these things to be upset about that just makes time drag on and on. And it's just like, like every hour, every minute goes by like 2 minutes. So every hour feels like 2 hours, and so on and so forth. And then you finally get off and you go home and, you just sit and play video games until 9 or 10 or 11 at night. Or you go and watch TV, or you just go do the same thing that you always do. And the effect that has is it feels like your time off is just very, very short. So your life becomes like this disproportionate, even though there's, in an ideal situation, this is not how it works, but ideally you get 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to work, and 8 hours of personal time during the week. Well, it starts to feel really imbalanced, because those 8 hours at work feel like they take 16 hours. And then once you get home, it just feels like 2 or 3 hours, and it's like, it's time to go to bed so I can wake up on time to go do the same thing tomorrow. And it was just a very, very negative way of looking at things. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of stuff that, irritates me about my job, and just the way that other employees are treated and how our health is viewed in general. Health versus the productivity and the bottom line. But I realize now, that's something that it's been apparent. Obviously, I haven't gone into too much detail with all of y'all, but I've fought pretty hard, or been pretty persistent about some things, about affecting change. And it's just been met with stiff resistance from the leadership, and no backing from team members, even like my teammates, even though they agree with what I'm saying. Because as far as the teammates go, I think they're just of that mindset that's like, that whatever change you're talking about ain't gonna happen. And so they don't feel energized to follow through, and then management just says, well, it's been this way since 1990, and we're not on fire yet, so I'm not going to worry about making things better for anyone. This all sounds very negative. I'm just trying to put it into perspective. And that's how I thought before, and all that stuff is still there, but it's my mindset, right? Because, it's like I said, I used to go in, it felt very disproportionate, my time in work versus out of work. And now I put some effort forth so that I do things that are it's not all one thing. And I break up my day after work, which works wonders. Like I come home, maybe I play a video game for a little bit, but then I stop and I go make some food, not something, out of a box or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that, if that's what you like to do, but I go and I cook. I go through the process of cooking, and I add the seasonings and I heat up the pan or do whatever, you know. And so it breaks things up into chunks. Then after that, maybe I go watch a little bit of TV. And one of the things I want to do is start reading Dune. Well, I finished Dune, whatever the second book is. It might be Dune Messiah, but whatever. The second book in the Dune saga, I guess you could call it. That's something that I want to start doing, especially towards the evening, because that's like a pre-sleep type thing. Oh, you know, it helps you go to sleep on time. If you instead of like staring at my screen, one of the things I want to do to better myself is instead like put the screen down, get away from the screens at least an hour before bed, and just spend that time reading. I think that would be really good, and that way I could, you know, get back into reading. I mean, I've been reading a decent amount, but I'm currently reading American Gods, which is good. am now into it. It just took about half the book to get me into it. So reading, it's like about a 500-page book, and reading the first 250 pages, I was like, just kind of trudging through it. Not that it's a bad book. It's just, coming from Dune and like being in, I guess, that headspace, like the sci-fi, deep space, fantasy type genre, to a very starkly different type of, it's not sci-fi, but fantasy. If you've read the books, then you know what I'm saying. It's just much more like visceral. American Gods is, and it's, you know, it's a lot more gritty, I would say. But anyway, like at any rate, to get back to what I was talking about, yeah, I make an effort to come home and break up my day. So now, yeah, it actually does feel like I'm at home for 8 hours instead of like 2. And I'm like, fuck, it's time to go to bed already. I haven't even, you know, put my lunch together for tomorrow or made this and that. And that's another thing that I've been doing. When I get home, I pop on my headphones and put on a good podcast, something to keep me a little bit entertained, and then I do what I gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Like I empty the dishwasher, I clean all the dishes that are in the sink, I pop some food in the oven if I'm meal prepping, that kind of thing. And just breaking things up between a few different activities tremendously helps. And if you get what I'm saying about I come home and it feels like I'm not at home for any time at all before I have to go back to work, highly recommend trying that. Breaking up your day. It really does help. And of course, the same thing applies to the weekends, you know? It's just on a bigger scale. If you can go do something and break up your weekend days, like kind of spontaneously this past Saturday, asked Hannah, it's like, hey, you want to go see a movie? And she was like, yeah. And, you know, we went and saw a movie, which is not something that we normally do. And it was really nice. I mean, we went and saw Barbarian, which is a strange movie, to put it lightly. But, and then afterwards we went and ate together, and it was just nice to kind of go on a date with someone that I've been dating for so long. You kind of forget, you know, that you're still supposed to show, well, I don't want to say it like, oh, you're still supposed to show that person they're special. But like, when you first start dating, obviously, it's, let's go out to eat. Let's go out to watch a movie. Let's go get a movie and dinner. Let's go do, you know, ride roller coasters or go to the fair. And then at some point, you know, maybe that kind of falls off. So it's really nice to reconnect with that younger version of love. You know, I think that's really cool. And of course, something I really like doing also, taking some time, going and seeing Jonah and Taylor, or any of my other friends, or just going and doing something instead of just being at the house all weekend, doing nothing. And then the same thing happens, right? It's Friday after work, you're like, yeah, it's the weekend, let's go. And you like blink 3 times, and then it's Sunday evening, and you're like, well, shit, time to do this whole thing over again. You know what I'm saying? So, one thing I'd recommend is, like I said, breaking things up, or doing new things, or even doing old things, but just breaking up your day. And this is all not to rag on you if you do get off work and like going home and just hanging out, you know, and not breaking up your day. Like, that's fine too. The point is to do what makes you happy, I think, and what combination of things would make you the most happy and the most satisfied with where you are right now. And I think that's where I want to leave this episode. Some of y'all might know, depending on how long you've been with the channel, back in the summer of 2019, I went to this Army ROTC basic camp or whatever, because I thought about joining ROTC, but I didn't because it sucked, but whatever. It's beside the point. I went there for a month to get caught up on all the ROTC stuff because I was behind a few years. If I was going to join the program, I had to, go to this camp and learn certain things. Anyway, at one point, one of the older military guys, because this was at Fort Knox, like it was it was on base. It wasn't like boot camp or anything, but they just had us for a month and we learned a lot of stuff. But one of the upper level military guys, I don't know if he's like a general or fucking sergeant major, I don't know, and I don't really care. The point was, we were all in the theater at one point and he was giving us a talk. We had a lot of these talks, but one of the things he said was, do the best with what you have right now. Do the best with what you have right now. Because it's very easy to get caught up in wishing I had that and wishing I could do this and wishing it was a different time. Which is exactly how I was the past 18 months. Oh, this sucks. I wish I was somewhere else. I wish I could do something else, blah, 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 blah. Do the best with what you have right now. Okay? It doesn't have to be a life-changing thing. But like I said, do the best with what you have right now. And that can make a massive difference. Just doing your best at something. That can really affect change, even if it's doing your best at something small. Okay? So take that message with you into your weekend. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, have a kick-ass time. Whatever you do, rest, relax, recover. Okay? Whatever you find relaxing and recovering, do it. Get lots of sleep, eat lots of good food, drink lots of water, and of course, do something good for yourself. Okay? Rest up this weekend, hit Monday running, and I will see you all here on Tuesday. Bye-bye, everybody.